If you guys are following me on my Instagram page, Turbo Diesel XJ, you already know that I've been talking about doing a follow-up video on my Diesel XJ conversion and kind of where I'm at right now in the build. And I've been kind of teasing everybody about the fact that there's going to be a complete overview video coming very soon. So why am I in the shop today? Well, this is not that video, and I actually have another video that's going to come before the complete overview. I recently installed a Mishimoto oversized radiator in my Jeep Cherokee behind me. And as many of you know, but if you don't know, this has an OM617 turbo diesel engine stuffed into it. I've been building this project over the last year and a half, almost 2 years. After doing this radiator, I shot all the footage for that. I have everything good to go with that. I can edit that video at any time. What I noticed was there's leaking coolant out of the back of my cylinder, between the cylinder head and the block, no doubt because my head gasket decided to leak. And I guess you kind of just live and learn. When we pulled the cylinder head off during the rebuild for this engine that's in my Jeep, we checked it as the manual states. It tells you a tolerance measuring across different points of the cylinder head where you can look and make sure that that head's not warped or anything, and mine measured fine. Now, lesson learned, and let this be a lesson to everybody, I would highly recommend anytime you are rebuilding a diesel engine, send that cylinder head out to get pressure checked, magnafluxed, if it's a cast iron head, and decked so that you don't have this issue. Now, I'm not 100% sure what is going on quite yet. I'm very confident that it's just a gasket failure because at the back near cylinder 5, there is a coolant jacket very close to the edge of the cylinder head and the block face. And I believe it's just leaking out of there, and it's barely anything, but I want to get on this before it becomes a major issue. So what I have here is one of my spare OM617 engines, one that I'm just using for parts, so it's kind of been torn apart and there's pieces missing and all that. But this engine did have a good cylinder head that a couple years back was sent out to a machine shop. It was pressure checked for cracks, and then it was machined to a perfectly flat surface. Now, even though that was done a couple years ago, again, lesson learned here, I'm gonna send that cylinder head out to the machine shop, get it checked, make sure everything's perfect before I stick it in my Jeep. So this video today is not necessarily a how to replace a cylinder head on an OM617 engine, although I'm gonna cut to some B-roll of me doing that and kind of walking you through the process of that a little bit in this video. I'll dive in depth into that once I get this back from the machine shop and have it ready to install in the Jeep, because my plan is to not leave this Jeep sitting for very long at all. I would really like, once that cylinder head comes back, to on a Saturday just pull the old head off, put the new one back on, new gasket. And the fun fact is I did get ARP studs for this now, so I'm gonna have a little bit more peace of mind. I think it's a little bit overkill for the OM617 because we're all pretty much running less than 30 pounds of boost, but it is going to, in my opinion, be a better way to mount the cylinder head to the block. And I'm hopeful that in the future I don't have these issues. Now, there's no coolant mixing with oil. There's no exhaust gases mixing with my cooling system. Nothing's overpressured, and I'm barely losing any coolant. This happened to me about a year ago. What I did is retorque the torque to yield bolts in sequence and kind of figured out where the ones that were tight were sitting at as a torque measure, and then went through that process and retorqued. And it did stop the coolant leak, and I hadn't had any issues for about a year. Now, with the HX30 turbocharger that's on here now, I'm pushing double the boost. I'm easily getting 24 pounds of boost on daily driving trips, just shifting between gears. So I suspect that it's a couple things. The gasket failed at one point somewhere. The cylinder head may be warped because we never had it decked at the machine shop. Or maybe it is faulty stretch bolts that just simply can't hold that 24 pounds of boost. And the cylinder head may actually be raising just enough to let a little bit of coolant seep out. Problem with that is I don't want to retorque anymore. I'm done with that. I want to get a head decked and checked onto this Jeep so I can just move forward and continue enjoying my Diesel XJ. So guys, I'm going to roll some B-roll of me just time-lapsing through tearing down the cylinder head on this old block. Let's get into it, and then there will be a video probably directly after this showing you guys replacing the cylinder head in this Jeep. And I'm not going to pull the engine or anything. I'm just going to do it inside of the Jeep. Guys, enjoy. So that was a very straightforward process. The only little tip that I would give you, and again, I'm gonna dive in depth when we get into actually doing this on my Jeep. Just keep tension on your chain when you're doing this so that you don't lose anything on the sprockets throughout the engine. Other than that, I'm not gonna really give any more tips and tricks other than what I did through this little time-lapse section. You can definitely use this video as a reference, and this is that engine that I have. Unfortunately, it is seized. It's no good to me. Maybe someday I'll have to steal pistons or something like that, but maybe rods, I don't know. Hopefully I never have to do that. So I didn't really care about the chain too much. I wasn't too worried about anything in the top end other than the cylinder head, of course, because this engine is just a parts engine. And there you can see the head gasket, and unfortunately with this engine, this is a brand new head gasket. This engine has only been run before it locked up on an engine stand. And maybe someday I'll dive into why this engine locked up, but it was bad, faulty instructions on an oil diagram from another company. And I've kind of talked about that on my other previous diesel videos. So unfortunately, a good engine that had a fresh cylinder head, brand new head gasket, new head bolts, all that good stuff, was locked up, and now it is just simply a parts engine for me. Guys, definitely check out my Instagram pages. They are Turbo Diesel XJ, and many of you that are looking at this video probably found it from there. And also Keystone Carry, same name as this YouTube channel. My plan is very soon to probably branch off and kind of make two separate YouTube channels so that I can focus Jeep content over there and gun content over here. But for now, because of time and because of what I got going on in my life and business and all that, I'm gonna post those videos here. Appreciate you guys, stay well, stay safe. We'll see you in the next video.